Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a completely data-driven strategy for building a highly profitable Kansas City rental portfolio right from out of state. We are strictly looking at the numbers, the geography, and the proven systems that literally allow investors from the coast or even overseas to own property they might never actually step foot in. Let's get right into it. So we have to start with the core reason Kansas City attracts so many investors, and that is a median home price sitting right near $289,000. That single number creates a huge opportunity that expensive coastal markets simply cannot match. Finding a major metropolitan area with robust growth plus an entry point under $300,000 is honestly becoming incredibly rare. To put that into perspective, Kansas City prices sit roughly 32% below the national average. Think about a typical coastal home priced at $600,000. That comes with a mortgage that completely crushes your monthly cash flow. But in Kansas City, a $200,000 single-family home renting for $1,500 produces a steady return those expensive markets will basically never see. As an investor, you really have to go where the math works, not necessarily where you happen to live. Here is our strategic playbook for this explainer. 1. The Kansas City advantage. 2. The state line distinction. 3. Choosing your strategy. 4. The 5-step path. And 5. Remote management systems. Section 1. The Kansas City advantage. So what is actually driving this market? Well, the fundamentals heavily favor the investor, backed by massive population growth and some huge economic catalysts. The metro recently added roughly 250,000 new residents, and major employers are pouring in. You have the Panasonic battery plant in DeSoto creating thousands of jobs. Google and Meta are building massive data centers. Add in the 2026 FIFA World Cup bringing 6 matches to Arrowhead Stadium, and you have long-term structural demand for housing across the entire metro area. This economic boom, combined with those accessible housing prices and average rents running between $1,201 and $1,400, produces an average rental yield near 4.95%. That is a very healthy spread for sure. It means your capital works efficiently, generating consistent monthly returns, while also capturing the broader economic appreciation across the region. Section 2. The state line distinction. A quick vital note before we continue. This explainer is strictly for educational purposes and is definitely not legal or tax advice. Always consult your own professionals when structuring your investments across different jurisdictions. Now, Kansas City is incredibly unique. It is not just one city in one state. It actually spans 2 entirely different legal landscapes. The landlord laws differ heavily between Missouri, which notably has absolutely no rent control, and Kansas. Both sides have incredibly active rental markets, and sure, the locals love arguing over who has the better barbecue, but as an investor, you need to focus on the laws. Notice periods, security deposits, and evictions are completely different. You absolutely must have a local management team that understands both sides of the state line. Section 3. Choosing your strategy. With that legal landscape in mind, you really cannot just throw a dart at a map. You need a highly targeted approach. You see, Kansas City's really dozens of submarkets where you must match your specific goal to the precise zip code. Looking for classic out-of-state cash flow with lower purchase prices? Target Independence, Raytown, Grandview, or North Kansas City. Prefer a hybrid approach, balancing yield and growth? Take a look at Gladstone, Blue Springs, Waldo, or Liberty. And if your strategy is purely appreciation with higher entry prices, Lee Summit, Overland Park, Leawood, and Brookside are perennial favorites. To put some real numbers to this strategy, acquiring a typical investor-grade home at $200,000 generally requires a 20 to 25% down payment. That means bringing roughly $40,000 to $50,000 to the table, plus closing costs and reserves. But keep in mind, cash flow neighborhoods often have even lower entry points, which gives you total flexibility on how much capital to deploy per property. Section 4. The 5-step path. Okay, so you have the data. But how do you actually buy a rental from out of state without seeing it in person? Well, it comes down to a documented 5-step execution path. First, define your strategy. Second, pick the matching neighborhood. Step 3 is vital. Buy with local verification. Never rely on listing photos alone. You need a local agent and an independent inspector to verify the true condition. Then step 4, place a heavily screened tenant. And finally, step 5, hand off operations to a manager built specifically for remote owners. That 4th step is particularly crucial. Rigorous screening of income, credit, and rental history is exactly how a well-managed portfolio achieves a 98% rent collection rate. Tenant quality ultimately decides your returns. A great property with a bad tenant is a bad investment. Thorough screening is basically your ultimate shield for cash flow. Section 5. Remote Management Systems. When you are states or even oceans away, your property manager is your eyes, hands, and judgment. Remote ownership really raises the stakes, requiring absolute operational standards. You have to demand a real-time portal to view statements at any hour. Rent should be direct deposited on a highly predictable schedule. And instead of a massive national call center, insist on a specific, named contact who responds the same business day. Finally, establish documented maintenance limits approved in advance, so you are never surprised by unexpected repair bills. This level of meticulous care is exactly why Alpine Property Management Kansas City was founded back in 2013. They successfully manage over 250 properties for investors across the coasts and overseas. The vast majority of their clients have never even set foot in their Kansas City rental. They just earn steady cash flow from a market chosen purely on the math, completely backed by a local team executing these exact standards every single day. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway is this. Distance is not the obstacle when you have the right local team. By following a data-driven approach, matching the neighborhood to your goals, and demanding high standards from your property management, you can unlock incredible returns that are simply inaccessible in expensive local markets. Are you ready to let the numbers dictate your next investment instead of your geography? For help managing your Kansas City rental property, call Alpine at 816-343-4520 or visit alpinekansascity.com.